Today, I am going to show you how to write beautifully by completely dispelling your idea of what beautiful writing is. Today we're going to introduce a new tool called the 6 senses and the 4 S's. And this is going to be a tool that you will use again and again to bulk up and add description to different elements of your story. It's going to be something that's going to help you really dig into that full sensory piece of writing, which is also going to bring a whole level of connection to your reader that wasn't necessarily there before. So let's dig in. The 4 S's basically just talk about 4 different ways to put together your words in the stories. So starting with a simple sentence, we're going to go back to kindergarten. This is our noun-verb pair. Dog plays. Noun, verb. Simple sentence. That easy. That second one is our super sentence. Our S number 2 is our super sentence. This is what you're doing in maybe first grade. You're going to add those sight words. Sight words are just a teaching word that's used to mean words that you learn by sight. So in this case, the and ball have been added. Sight words, words that you learn by sight. The dog plays ball. Our third S is when we get into our statement. Statement, just like you would do at a police station if you just witnessed an accident, is all of those WHs. That's what they want in a statement. So in this case, we added that WH format to our super sentence. So we had the dog plays ball already. The dog is our who. Could be Mary as well, which we're going to get into in a second. But I'm going with the dog because we started with the dog. The dog is our who, plays ball is our what. That's what's going on. Our whole sentence, on Saturdays, in order to prepare for the dog show, the dog plays ball at the park with Mary. Who, the dog, what, plays ball, when, on Saturdays, where, at the park, why, in order to prepare for the dog show, how, with Mary. I know there are some dogs out there that can probably toss it for themselves, but in this case, we need a how. We need Mary. All of these steps are things that you probably have already been using in your writing. You're doing those simple sentences, you're doing those super sentences, you're doing those statements. You are going to be able to mix and match those to give a little bit of variety for your story. You don't want a book that has all long sentences. You don't want a book that has all short sentences. You really want to mix it up to create a little bit of music for your reader as they're going through it. That is when we get to our big hit. Number 4, the 4th S, is scene. And for that, we are going to incorporate the 6 senses of description. When we are talking to our reader through our words, we are addressing different parts of that reader. When we're sharing facts, we're addressing their head and that logic. When we're sharing stories and anecdotes, we're addressing that inspiration and that desire and that motivation. But there are a couple of areas that I really want to make sure that we address in order to connect to our reader. One of them is the gut. You hit the gut through the senses. Now, of course, you know, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. You learned your 5 senses. Again, we're probably back at kindergarten. So we're going to make sure that when we're writing, we're going to include some elements that are going to hit each of those senses. These are really powerful. People can connect to sense. They connect to color. They can connect to sounds. Music is a huge piece of nostalgia. Sense, same thing. Taste, these are things that really make your story relatable and indulgent. Then we have the magic one. The 6th sense of description is the TFI. TFI is thoughts, feelings, imaginings. We are going to use TFI a lot from here on out through the rest of Book in a Month. If I am writing a story where I've entered a room and it's really bright and I'm in a great mood and I'm about to run into some great friends that I haven't seen in a long time, that is exactly how that room is described. It is bright, it is fun, it is inviting. If I'm entering that same bright room, so the sight hasn't changed, The surroundings haven't changed. There are people I haven't seen in a long time, but I have a horrible migraine. I feel like crap, therefore I look like crap. I am walking into that room, and because I have added that TFI of my feeling, that is a completely different room. It's no longer bright and inviting. It is now glaring and loud. That is why that TFI, that sixth sense of description, is really important. And now here's where I'm going to dispel that beautiful writing myth. So oftentimes people think that when we write beautiful things, it has to be flowery language. It has to be Emily Dickinson and loving and flowy and just country meadows and rivers flowing. That is not necessarily beauty. Yes, it creates pretty words, but beauty is about connecting words. And that is what we want to do through these six senses. So if I'm going to look back at our sample sentence and think about applying these senses to these different parts of the sentence in order to move it from statement to scene, I want to think about words not just that are pretty and flowery. Sure, I can talk about the park, the wind blowing, and I can talk about the green grasses. But more importantly, I can talk about how the ball, the what, is slimy and stunk of dog breath. Because guess what? That image is going to stick with your reader. They're going to get a real sense of being in that scene. So let's just pick a few different descriptives that we're going to add to our sentence here to kind of grow it into something a little bit bigger. I'm going to just pick, when you do this in your own writing, and we're going to provide an example for you, as always, along with a PDF of the lesson resource. When you do this, you're going to want to pick a bunch of these to apply to a bunch of these, but we're just going to do one each time. So let's take the Saturday, the when. Let's talk about, let's put our taste into our Saturday. And what we're going to taste first thing on that Saturday morning is our cup of coffee. And here I am back to just telling you what it is. I really want that taste of that coffee. It's strong, it's hot, it's rich. So let's get some of those taste words. Just saying a food does not mean I'm describing the taste. So strong, hot, rich, those are going to be those words for our coffee. Then let's move on to our why, in order to prepare for the dog show. This is a really great one to add our TFI to. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I imagining about the dog show? So let's add our TFI to our why. And what are some of the things I'm feeling? Maybe I'm nervous. Maybe I'm imagining that it's more competition than ever. This is a feeling. This is an imagining. And so then what am I thinking? No way I can win. I'm having sort of a negative thought here on this. That's why I have to practice so hard, right? Moving on to our who, the dog. The dog, it would be really easy to go to the sea and sit here and describe what the dog looks like. You can have a lot of fun with that. In our example, we're going to do that. But let's go to this touch, because there's something very engaging about a touch of a pet. So we're going to use our touch for the dog. And as opposed to that really soft, fluffy fur, what if he's got, coarse and wiry fur? Again, pretty words don't have to actually be pretty. I just want to get into that pretty emotional place with our reader. So coarse and wiry, that's beautiful. All right, so then let's look at what we've got left here. We've got the what, the where, the how, the see, the hear, the smell. So I definitely liked how we were talking about that smell with the ball. So let's use that. And we're going to talk about our smell being like dog breath. and I don't know, what else could it smell like? The grass that was cut that morning. So you have a contrast going on here, which is kind of neat. Contrast is a really powerful tool that you should always use in your writing because it really engages your reader. So you've got dog breath and grass. Those are some of our smells related to it. So we have at the park. Oh, I'm thinking that there are lots of sounds at the park. So we're gonna go at the park, and you can hear maybe kids laughing. You hear the hot dog cart coming through, food cart jingles. Again, we're just writing down a couple for each. You could go through and take every one of these and write a whole list of the things that you see here. Taste, touch, smell, and you have TFIs for. And then last but not least, let's take our seeing, and we're gonna end up tying that to the how. So this is really simple because we can just describe again and again what we're seeing. So, you know, she throws the ball, waits, this is what we're seeing. And this is where we're gonna maybe add some description of the ball. Like, is it blue? Is it a blue rubber ball? Because we're seeing, so we want more than just saying what it is. You know, she waits, drink of coffee. This is how it's happening. And what are we seeing? This is it goes to her lips. We're seeing. We want to say how we're seeing it. We really want to get into description. We might even describe what the coffee cup looks like. When you combine all of these 6 senses into the scene, or into the statement that you created, all of a sudden you've developed a scene. So instead, it would be on that Saturday morning, with a cup of strong, hot, rich coffee in hand, Mary went off to prepare for the dog show with her dog. We'll give him a name, Roscoe, with her dog Roscoe. She was sure that this year the competition would be bigger than ever. She was so nervous. There was no way she could pull this thing off. But her dog Roscoe, with his wiry fur standing on end in excitement, was ready to follow her ball as she threw the blue rubber toy all the way across the park and watched it fly through the air. Again, we want that visual. Flew maybe over the head of, over the top of the swing set. Maybe it flew over the top of another dog who chased after it. Had whatever you want for that sight. Mary waited patiently and took a drink of another sip of her coffee out of her favorite mug. Describe the mug. It took a while for Roscoe to get back, and Mary focused on the laughing of the kids and the jingles of food carts that were just arriving for the day. It helped put her nervous stomach at ease. This was what they loved to do, after all. Finally, Roscoe returned, and despite the stench of dog breath on the slimy blue rubber ball, she was able to focus instead on the freshly cut grass and absorb that day once more. This might have been her last competition with Roscoe, but she was going to make it her most enjoyable. From that, what we've done is we've moved from our simple sentence to our super sentence to our statement to our scene. And that's how you bulk with the 6 senses and the 4 S's. What's more is, if you learn to combine and create variety of the 4 types of sentences, that's how you ultimately end up with your story or your book in a month.